There's a quiet beauty in things that have been given a second life. Imagine an old plastic bottle, once discarded and forgotten, now standing proudly in your garden. Its edges softened and curved like the gentle waves of a riverbank. This is the charm of the rustic edge bottle planter. It carries with it a story of renewal, of turning what was once waste into something that breathes life again. To make one, you start simply. Clean the bottle thoroughly, making sure every label and trace of its old life is gone. Then, with a steady hand and a cautious heart, you soften the edges using gentle heat. The plastic bends and ripples, forming an organic curve that feels almost like weathered wood or sun-shaped clay. It's imperfect, beautifully imperfect, and that's where its soul lies. Fill it with rich, dark soil, the kind that smells of rain and promise. Tuck in seeds or seedlings, bright marigolds, aromatic basil, or perhaps a trailing ivy. As days pass, you'll notice how the plants spill over the softened edges, their green leaves and blossoms playing against the rugged frame you created. Place your rustic planters on a wooden table. Hang them on a sunlit fence, or group them together on a balcony corner. The sunlight will dance along the curves, making them glow at certain hours of the day. This craft is more than decoration. It's a reminder that beauty doesn't have to be perfect, and that even the simplest materials can carry warmth when shaped with intention. In every ripple of melted plastic, there's a whisper of care, patience, and the joy of creating something that's truly yours. There's something irresistibly joyful about bringing a little playfulness into your garden. Panda and animal character pots are more than just planters. They are tiny companions that smile back at you every time you see them. Each one has its own personality, painted lovingly onto the curved surface of a repurposed plastic bottle. The process begins with choosing your animal. Will it be the gentle gaze of a panda, the curious tilt of a cat's ears, or the long, floppy charm of a bunny? Once the bottle is clean and cut to size, the transformation begins. Paint becomes your brush of magic. Soft whites, bold blacks, and pops of pink or yellow. Add details like ears made from foam sheets, googly eyes, or even tiny whiskers cut from leftover wire. When the painting dries, you fill the planter with a little scoop of soil and nestle in plants that suit the character's style. A panda might hold a neat cluster of bamboo-like lucky plants. A cat could cradle trailing ivy that mimics a playful tail. For a bunny, perhaps soft lavender blooms that sway gently in the breeze. These character pots aren't just for gardens. They're perfect for children's rooms, balconies, or even as quirky table centerpieces for parties. Kids especially love them, and making them together becomes a memory that lingers. It's a moment of shared laughter, messy hands, and proud smiles as a finished animal comes to life. Every glance at these pots will remind you that gardening isn't always about straight rows and perfect symmetry. Sometimes it's about whimsy, about letting color and imagination run free, and perhaps about making your plants a little happier too, because who wouldn't want to grow inside a smiling panda? There's a certain magic in gardens that rise toward the sky. A hanging bottle garden is not just a creative space-saving solution. It's a tapestry of life suspended in the air. With each recycled plastic bottle, you're crafting pockets of green that sway gently with the breeze, catching the light in unexpected ways. The journey begins with a handful of bottles and a vision. You cut windows into their sides or tops, add drainage holes, and thread them with sturdy rope or wire. Hung vertically, each bottle becomes a stage for a small performance of life. Bright marigolds bursting into bloom, basil leaves releasing their fragrance when touched, ivy cascading down like a green waterfall. A hanging bottle garden thrives in places where space is a luxury. Tiny balconies, narrow courtyards, even a bare kitchen wall that longs for warmth. The air circulation keeps plants healthy, while the elevated height brings them closer to your eyes, allowing you to watch each leaf unfurl day by day. There's also a rhythm to caring for them. Water trickles down from the top bottle to ones below, carrying with it the richness of the soil. The colors shift with the seasons, and in time, your vertical garden becomes a living wall, a reminder that even the smallest corners can bloom. It's more than gardening, it's a statement. It says you value beauty, sustainability, and the simple joy of watching something grow. And perhaps the most rewarding part is knowing that every glance upward is met with life, bright, thriving, and entirely your own creation. There's a quiet elegance in clean lines and deliberate shapes. Geometric modern plastic pots take the humble recycle bottle and transform it into something striking, like origami in 3 dimensions, but made for plants to call home. Each angled surface catches the light differently, creating subtle shadows that shift throughout the day. The process begins with imagination and precision. A bottle is cut and shaped into bold facets, triangles, hexagons, or diamond-like forms. The sharp geometry contrasts beautifully with the soft, organic growth of leaves and flowers. A coat of paint in matte black, crisp white, or metallic gold turns the piece into a statement, worthy of a stylish home or a modern patio. Choosing the right plants becomes part of the art. A single succulent in the center draws attention to the planter's form. A cactus adds texture. Even a small cluster of wildflowers softens the edges, blending minimalism with nature's whimsy. When arranged together, these pots create a rhythm, repeating patterns and angles, each unique but harmonizing with the next. They fit perfectly on a bookshelf, line a kitchen window, or a cluster in an outdoor corner where sunlight can play upon their surfaces. Beyond beauty, there's meaning in their making. It's a transformation of a throwaway object into something purposeful and lasting. It's proof that sustainability can be stylish. An old soda bottle can stand proudly beside ceramic or concrete planters without apology. And as the plants grow, the geometry only becomes more alive. Roots reach deep, leaves spill over, and life softens the lines without taking away the design's quiet strength. These are more than planters. They are little sculptures, each holding a fragment of nature in the palm of a carefully crafted shape. Sometimes, the most beautiful gardens aren't spread across the ground. They climb toward the sun. A vertical bore bottle planter is a perfect example of how a small space can hold a great deal of life. It's a living wall that changes with the seasons, a tapestry of green and color, framed by the warmth of wood. The idea begins with a sturdy board. Maybe it's an old pallet, maybe a weathered plank rescue from the shed. Its surface carries the marks of time, each scratch telling a story. Onto this board, you attach repurposed plastic bottles, cut open to cradle soil and roots. They can be arranged in tidy rows for order or scattered in a playful pattern for charm. Color becomes your ally here. Paint the bottles in shades that match your mood, soft pastels for a calm corner, bright yellows and reds for a lively one. As the plants grow, their leaves spill over, softening the structure and making it feel like nature and craftsmanship are holding hands. This design is more than just decoration. It's a solution. Perfect for balconies, courtyards, or narrow side yards. It allows you to grow herbs, flowers, or even small vegetables without sacrificing space. The board can lean against the wall, hang securely, or stand freely with support legs. Caring for a vertical garden is an intimate ritual. You water from the top, watching the moisture trickle down to the plants below. You prune and replant, shifting colors and textures as the months pass. Over time, it becomes a part of your home's heartbeat, a vertical patch of earth that breathes with you. It's proof that even in the smallest spaces, life can climb high, flourish, and greet the sunlight with open leaves. There's something tender and inviting about a planter that blooms before it's even planted. A flower-shaped bottle pot is a celebration of form and function, but the container itself is as joyful as the greenery it holds. The process begins with an ordinary plastic bottle, clear, green, or perhaps the soft blue of mineral water containers. With careful cuts, you shape the top edge into petals. Some are rounded and gentle, others sharp and pointed like a daisy in the wind. A coat of paint transforms those petals into a burst of color, pastel pinks, sunny yellows, deep purples, turning the pot into a flower that never fades. When the design is ready, the soil slips inside like a warm blanket. You tuck in your plants, perhaps a cluster of bright marigolds, the shy heads of pansies, or the cheerful spread of petunias. As they grow, the living blooms blend with the painted ones, creating a layered beauty that makes you pause for a second look. Flower-shaped pots are perfect for adding charm to places that need a little life. A kitchen windowsill, a sunny balcony, or a garden path. They can stand alone as focal points or be grouped to form a garden within a garden, where colors mingle in petals, painted and real, dance together. This craft is more than just upcycling. It's storytelling. Each petal's curve holds a memory of a hand shaping it, each brushstroke a choice of joy. And as time passes, the paint may soften, the plants may change, but the essence remains, a small, simple reminder that beauty is often found in the harmony of what we make and what we grow. In a child world, even plants can have faces and personalities. The Kids' Room Animal Faces planter turns ordinary plastic bottles into friendly companions for little gardeners, blending playtime with a gentle introduction to caring for living things. The process begins with imagination. An empty bottle becomes a canvas for a kitten's curious whiskers, a bunny's long ears, or a bear's gentle smile. The base is cleaned, cut to size, and painted in bright, cheerful colors. Foam sheets or felt become ears, snouts, or horns, while googly eyes bring characters to life. Children's laughter often fills the air during this step, as they debate whether their panda needs rosy cheeks or a bigger grin. Once the decorating is complete, the next step is planting. Small succulents, hardy herbs, or colorful mini flowers work beautifully for these pots. They require minimal watering, perfect for little hands still learning responsibility. As the plants grow, they give the animal faces a new hairdo with each passing week, adding to the whimsy. These planters are more than just decor. They're companions in learning. Kids can place them on desks, windowsills, or shelves, watching their pet grow and change. The activity also nurtures creativity, fine motor skills, and a deeper appreciation for nature. And for parents, these pots offer more than a splash of color in a room. They're a reminder of a day spent together, of paint-stained fingers, bursts of giggles, and the simple joy of making something from nothing. Over time, the planters may fade, the plants may change, but the memory of creating them stays as bright as the first day. Sometimes, the smallest creations hold the most charm. Painted mini bottle pots are proof that beauty doesn't need grand scale. It only needs a thoughtful touch. These tiny planters bring bursts of color and life into even the smallest corners of the home. It starts with an empty plastic bottle, often from a drink you enjoyed just yesterday. With a simple cut, you create a vessel small enough to hold a single succulent, a sprig of rosemary, or a miniature flower. Then comes the most joyful part, painting. The surface becomes a playground for your creativity. Soft pastels with delicate floral patterns, bold stripes in contrasting colors, or whimsical polka that seem to dance under the light. Because they're so small, these pots are wonderfully versatile. Line them along a windowsill where the morning sun gently touches their surfaces. Cluster them on a dining table as a living centerpiece, or scatter them across a balcony ledge, each one catching the eye in a different way. Their size also makes them ideal for gifting. Imagine offering a friend a tiny pot with a hand-painted design, knowing it will sit on their desk or kitchen shelf as a daily reminder of care and thoughtfulness. Creating painted mini bottle pots is more than a craft. It's a meditation. With each brushstroke, you slow down, focus on the details, and let colors speak. And when the plants inside begin to grow, the marriage of your art and nature's own design becomes something truly special. It's a small joy, but one that lingers, brightening the days in the gentlest way. There's a warmth in natural textures, a sense of earthiness that turns the simplest objects into something timeless. Rope-wrapped hanging pots capture this feeling perfectly, combining the rustic charm of jute or hemp with the green life of a plant, all crafted from something as humble as a recycled plastic bottle. The process begins with an empty bottle, its surface smoothed and cleaned. A length of rope, perhaps coarse jute for a rugged look, or soft cotton for a gentler touch, is wrapped tightly around the bottle's body. The rope covers the plastic completely, transforming it into something that feels handmade, as though it's been part of your home for years. Once the rope is secured, sturdy twine or metal hooks allow the planter to be hung from a beam, a balcony rail, or a tree branch. Into this new vessel, you pour fresh soil and nest in a plant that will spill over the sides, perhaps cascading ivy, delicate ferns, or bright petunias that peek through the rope's texture. As the wind sways the pot, the rope gives a warm, organic frame, while the plant adds movement and life. The combination feels natural, almost as if the pot itself grew from the earth. Rope-wrapped hanging pots fit seamlessly into many spaces. Urban balconies, country porches, cozy kitchen corners. They're proof that beauty often comes from the meeting of contrasts. Soft green leaves against rough fibers. Repurposed plastic disguised as something enduring and pure. Every time you glance at one, you're reminded that sustainability doesn't have to be stark or plain. It can be inviting, textured, and filled with the same care you put into growing the life inside. Some creations feel like they carry a bit of the maker's own story in them. Fabric-wrapped decorative pots are one of those crafts. Each one unique, each one dressed in colors and patterns that speak of personality, mood, and memory. The process begins with a clean, cut plastic bottle. It's shaped simple, waiting to be transformed. From a drawer or basket, you gather fabric scraps, pieces of an old dress, a curtain hem, or the bright cotton from a sewing project long ago. These fabrics already hold moments from the past, and now they'll wrap around new life. The cloth is smooth and shaped around the bottle, secured with glue or stitched at the seams. Some people tie the fabric with a ribbon or a strip of twine, adding a gentle accent. The texture of the fabric softens the planter's look, making it feel warmer, more personal. Once the planter is dressed, soil is poured in, followed by the plant of your choice. Aromatic basil, cheerful geraniums, or cascading vines that contrast beautifully with the fabric's pattern. As the plant grows, it changes the composition, adding its own colors and textures to the design. These fabric-wrapped pots bring a homey touch wherever they're placed, on a kitchen counter, lining a windowsill, or brightening a shaded patio corner. They feel less like craft projects and more like treasures you've always had, blending function with an aesthetic that's entirely your own. Every time your eyes pass over them, you're reminded of the fabric's origin and the care that went into turning scraps into beauty. In that way, each pot becomes more than just a container. It becomes a little keepsake, quietly holding both life and memory. Gardens aren't always measured by the space they cover. Sometimes, their beauty rises upward. Stacked tier bottle planters are a way of building life into the air, creating a column of greenery that feels both inventive and abundant. The making starts with several sturdy plastic bottles, each cut and prepared as a planter. These are arranged in layers, one above the other, with supports between them to allow light and air to reach every tier. Some designs use a central pole for stability. Others stack the bottles in an offset pattern, so that plants spill down in every direction. Each tier can tell its own story. The top might hold bright, sun-loving flowers, petunias, zinnias, or cheerful daisies. The middle can cradle herbs that love partial shade, like mint or parsley, and the bottom can be home to trailing plants, their vines reaching toward the ground like green ribbons. What's special about a tiered planter is the way it becomes a living sculpture. From a distance, it's a column of color and texture. Up close, each plant invites attention. The fragrance of a leaf, the softness of a petal, the gentle hum of a bee visiting its favorite bloom. This design works beautifully for small patios, balconies, or corners of a yard that need vertical interest. It's also a practical way to grow more in less space, turning a handful of old bottles into something striking and purposeful. And perhaps most rewarding is watching it change over time. As the weeks pass, the layers grow fuller, the colors shift, and the structure feels less like a crafted object and more like a tower the earth itself decided to grow. Some designs carry a hint of whimsy, turning everyday objects into something unexpected. The fork-shaped bottle pot is one of those ideas, fun, practical, and certain to make people look twice. It takes the humble form of a kitchen utensil and transforms it into a lively home for plants. The process begins with a clean plastic bottle. With careful cuts, the top edge is shaped into familiar tines of a fork, 3 or 4 prongs rising upward, each one slightly rounded to avoid sharpness. Once shaped, the bottle becomes a playful silhouette that already sparks curiosity. Painting is where the personality comes in. Some choose a solid color, bright red, sunny yellow, or a soft pastel. Others go bolder, adding patterns, dots, or stripes along the fork's handle. Once dry, the pot is ready for soil and plants. Because of its shape, the fork pot works beautifully for small plants that stand upright. Succulents, marigolds, or even a tidy clump of chives. The fork tines frame the greenery like a crown, giving the planter a decorative twist. These pots can be lined along a balcony railing, placed in a garden bed for a surprise touch, or even used indoors as quirky desk planters. They blend the charm of novelty with the satisfaction of repurposing waste into something beautiful. Over time, as the plants grow, the fork shape becomes part of a little story, a playful detail in a space that might otherwise feel ordinary. And each time someone notices it and smiles, you're reminded that creativity in gardening is not just about what you grow, but also how you choose to hold it. There's something timeless about mosaic art, the way tiny shapes and colors come together to form a greater whole. Mosaic painted plastic pots bring that ancient beauty into a modern, eco-friendly craft, turning recycled bottles into vibrant vessels of life. The process begins with a clean, cut bottle, its surface smooth and ready for transformation. Using a pencil, you lightly sketch a pattern, perhaps a series of interlocking triangles, a ring of tiny squares, or a swirl of petals radiating outward. Each shape becomes a small canvas, waiting for its own burst of color. With a steady hand, you fill in the shapes using bright acrylic paints, deep blues, warm reds, sunny yellows, and fresh greens. The colors contrast sharply against each other, making the design almost dance under the light. Some crafters even add a thin black outline between shapes, mimicking the look of real mosaic grout. Once the paint is dry, the pot takes on a completely new character. It's no longer a bottle, it's a piece of art. Filling it with soil and plants completes the transformation. A lush green basil plant contrasts beautifully against a cool blue and white mosaic. A cluster of pink petunias looks even brighter when framed by gold and red patterns. These pots are perfect for adding artistic flair to gardens, balconies, or even indoor shelves. Grouped together, they create a gallery of color, each one unique yet harmonious. Beyond their beauty, mosaic painted pots tell a story of patience and detail. Every brushstroke, every color choice is a quiet act of care. And when plants begin to grow inside, the art and nature merge, creating something that feels alive in more ways than one. A garden often begins with something small. So small, it needs shelter before it can stand on its own. The mini greenhouse bottle planter offers that gentle protection, cradling seeds in warmth and moisture until they're ready to meet the open air. The process starts with a simple cut. The bottom half of the plastic bottle becomes a planter, filled with rich, damp soil. Seeds are nestled inside, herbs, flowers, or vegetables, each holding the quiet promise of growth. The top half of the bottle, clear and curved, is placed back over the base, forming a dome. This little chamber traps warmth from the sun and keeps the soil moist, creating a perfect microclimate for young sprouts. In the early days, you'll see only the dark soil and a few drops of condensation clinging to plastic. Then, one morning, tiny green shoots will appear, stretching upward toward the light. The clear dome lets you watch every stage. Leaves unfurling, stems thickening, roots digging deeper. When the plants grow strong enough, you can lift the dome and let them breathe freely, or transplant them into larger pots or garden beds. But there's something special about keeping a few in their greenhouse, especially for delicate herbs that thrive in consistent warmth. These mini greenhouses fit anywhere: a sunny kitchen counter, a balcony ledge, even a desk by the window. They're a perfect choice for those who want to start plants early in the season, or for children learning how life begins. In every tiny dome, there's a quiet world, warm, safe, and full of potential. And it's a reminder that even the most fragile beginnings can flourish when given the right care. There's a certain joy in stepping outside and picking fresh herbs just a few steps from your kitchen. A wall-mounted bottle herb garden brings that joy to life, turning an empty wall into a living pantry of fragrance and flavor. It begins with a sturdy panel, wood, metal, or even an existing fence. Cleaned and cut plastic bottles are fixed securely in place, often in neat rows or staggered patterns. The bottles can be mounted horizontally with a wide cutout along the top for planting, or vertically with openings along the sides. Drainage holes ensure roots stay healthy, while the wall itself becomes a frame for this green display. Into each planter goes a handful of rich soil, followed by the herbs of your choice. Basil for fresh pasta nights, mint for cool drinks, rosemary for roasts. Handwritten labels add a personal touch, making the garden not just functional but also charming. Sunlight streams across the wall during the day, encouraging lush growth. The scent is often the first thing you notice when you pass, a burst of green, earthy freshness that makes you pause and breathe deeply. Harvesting is as simple as reaching out and pinching off a sprig. This kind of garden is perfect for small spaces, balconies, courtyards, or narrow alleys between houses. It's also wonderfully adaptable. You can change the plants with the seasons or add flowers among the herbs for splashes of color. Over time, the wall-mounted herb garden becomes part of the home's daily rhythm. It's there in the morning light, in the scent that drifts into the kitchen, and in the small but meaningful ritual of tending to something that gives back in such a flavorful way. In a garden full of pots, some stand out not just for what they hold, but for what they are. Animal body planners bring an element of storytelling into your greenery. Each one a little creature, carrying a living garden on its back. The journey begins with a bottle and a vision. Perhaps you see a turtle, its shell replaced with a mound of flowers, or a fish whose body sways gently in the breeze as the plant within it grows. With careful cutting, the bottle takes shape, fins, legs, or wings appearing from what was once smooth plastic. Paint gives these creatures their spirit. Greens and browns for the turtle shell, shimmering blues and silvers for a fish, bright reds with black spots for a ladybug. Each detail adds personality, until the planter feels like it might almost move. Inside goes the soil and plant, herbs for a shell that smells as good as it looks, trailing ivy for tails that seem to swim, or colorful flowers that turn the animal into a walking bouquet. These planters are not just for gardens. They brighten balconies, patios, and even children's rooms, offering a daily smile and a touch of whimsy. They make wonderful gifts, too, especially for children learning how to care for plants in a way that feels playful and engaging. Over time, the plant grows and changes, giving the animal new features with each season. And in that slow transformation, the planter becomes more than just a craft. It becomes a companion, quietly carrying life wherever you place it. Some pots feel like they carry the sky after rain. The soft, shifting colors of rainbow, captured in one gentle arc rainbow gradient bottle pots, bring that same uplifting charm into your home or garden, turning a simple planter into a burst of joy. The process begins with a clean, prepared plastic bottle. A base coat of white or light pastel sets the stage, ready to let colors shine. Then, using either spray paint or careful brushwork, you layer the hues, red melting into orange, orange into yellow, green into blue, blue into indigo, and finally, violet. The key is in the blending, where one shade softens into the next like a watercolor sky. Once the gradient is complete, the planter already feels alive, even before the first seed touches soil. When you add plants, white daisies, lush basil, or cheerful pansies, the colors sing louder, the greenery and bloom standing out against the painted backdrop. Rainbow pots are versatile and full of personality. They can line a sunny windowsill, adding cheer to rainy days, or brighten a shaded balcony with their luminous colors. Grouped together, they create a vibrant corner that feels almost like a living art installation. These planters also make perfect gifts. A friend might receive one with their favorite plant inside, a gesture that says more than just, "I thought of you," but also, "I wanted to give you something that feels like sunlight after storm." Every time the light shifts, the colors change slightly, just as they do in the sky. And perhaps that's the magic, a reminder that beauty is often found in transitions, in the gentle way one color becomes another, in the way something humble can become something to marvel at. In the heart of a garden, a totem rises, bright, playful, and full of life. The bottle totem garden art is more than just a planter. It's a sculpture, a vertical celebration of creativity and growth. It starts with several recycled bottles, each cut and shaped to hold soil and plants. Every bottle becomes a canvas, painted in bold patterns, intricate designs, or simple solid colors that speak of the maker's mood. Stripes meet swirls, dots meet geometric lines. No two bottles are alike, yet together they create harmony. A sturdy central pole becomes the spine of the totem. Bottle planters are threaded onto it one by one, stacked vertically, each layer offering a new surprise. Marigold on top, cascading ivy in the middle, fragrant basil near the base. The plants and colors blend into a tower that changes with the seasons, each bloom adding its own brushstroke to the living artwork. This design is perfect for a garden focal point, a balcony feature, or even a whimsical corner in a courtyard. It draws the eye upward, making the space feel taller and more vibrant. Children especially love it. circling around to spot each plant and pattern, as if the totem were telling them a secret story. Beyond its beauty, the bottle totem carries a message. It's a reminder that art and nature can share the same space, that sustainability can be joyful, and that even simple materials can rise into something extraordinary. And as the sun moves across the sky, casting changing shadows on its surface, the totem feels alive, not just because of the plant it holds, but because of the spirit it was built with. There's a quiet magic in objects that glow, especially when they also cradle life. The lantern-style bottle planter captures that magic, part light, part greenery, part handmade charm. By day, it's a beautiful planter with ornate cutouts. By night, it becomes a soft, glowing beacon in your garden or balcony. The process begins with a clean, clear plastic bottle. With care and precision, you cut windows and patterns into its sides, swirls, geometric shapes, or floral motifs. These openings aren't just decorative. They also let light and air flow through to the plant inside. A coat of paint in warm metallic tones, bronze, gold, or copper, gives it a look of an antique lantern, while still allowing glimpses of green through its openings. Inside, a small plant takes root. Trailing vines look especially striking, spilling from the openings like nature reaching for sun. In the evening, a small LED candle or solar light can be placed at the base, casting gentle shadows through the cutouts and onto surrounding surfaces. Lantern-style planters work beautifully when hung from tree branches, lying along the garden path, or gathered in clusters on a patio table. They bring a touch of romance to outdoor dinners, add warmth to balconies, and make even a simple evening feel a little more special. But more than their beauty, these planters hold a quiet satisfaction. They remind you that light and life can share the same vessel, that something as simple as a plastic bottle can become a glowing presence, and that a little creativity can turn an ordinary night into something memorable.